So Dr. King started the Poor People's Campaign 50 years ago with Memphis sanitation workers. He realized the poor were being completely and totally ignored.
His goal was to mobilize people of all walks of life and all colors to unite us beyond all the divisions that they try to keep us separated with.
So 50 years later, times have become much worse than they were 50 years ago, with 44% of people living far below the poverty line. And we need the workers here at the forefront of this conversation. And we need the people in the unions that know how to mobilize to raise their voices and bring us all together.
I'm here because I'm disabled, I'm poor, I've just recently come out of homelessness. I'm also here because the message of Martin Luther King actually resonates with me as a human rights defender, and that is that we've come out of the era of civil rights and we've entered into the era of human rights. Yes.
Each and every one of us clocks into a work every single day that most of us probably don't even like. But we do it because we need to feed our children. And even that is not enough. Some of them are working 2 or 3 jobs just to put food on the table. And that's still not enough. In one of the wealthiest nations the world has ever seen, yet 240,000 people die because they don't have access to health care. 200,000 people die every year prematurely because of lack of wealth. All these things are interlinked, right? The water crisis in Flint is connected to systemic racism. It's connected to the war economy. It's connected to the systemic poverty and ecological devastation. It is not an accident that an entire city has been poisoned. It is not an accident that people in Detroit are facing foreclosures and water shutoffs. And this is why we're here today, because we need unity, right? We need to come together.
After 30 years of working in the workforce, in 2013, I suffered a stroke. Complications from diabetes led to my disability, loss of vision. You overlay that with the Flint water crisis, and I see poverty each and every day.
I was pregnant with twins and lost both of my babies due to drinking the contaminated water. Both of my kids was poisoned. My son was 5 years old and had been suspended from school over 50 times. The school is there. Everybody is failing our kids and everyone in Flint. We have been fighting for over 4 years now and still fighting for justice for Flint. I would just like to say, hands off our health care, big switch you broke, and Flint lives matter. Thank you.
Whether you're red, yellow, black, or white, we have a right to clean water. We have a right to good health. We have a right to a good place to live. We have a right to have fair housing. We have the right to live and do. And our children have a good education. We have a right to good health. Today is military. Today is about our children. Every day, our men and our women, our sons and our daughters, they go away and fight for our country. They risk their lives day and night. They have many days and nights without nobody to tell them that they love them, without nobody to say, and then they come home and can't even get good health care. They come home and cannot even have a decent place to live. They come home and not be able to be an upstanding citizen. Many of us stand on the corner with signs and say, I'm a veteran. Is that right? No, it's not right. So today, we take back what belongs to us. Today, we stand for what's right. We have a moral responsibility to stand up and speak out. Thank you.
But I ended up in a domestic violence relationship back in 2013, and I was in a domestic violence shelter. I had signed up for Section 8 housing. The way the laws are set up, there is a failure set up, especially in the state of Michigan, with the welfare, the insurance, the driver responsibility fees, which they're dropping in October, but that's only half the battle, because when you're criminalized for being poor, one little thing goes wrong and the whole thing falls apart. And I went through that several times. I came out of a shelter and I was living in my van. I was pregnant with my 5th child, and the doctor had told me I had placenta previa and that I could not work. If I worked, that I would lose the baby. So I was really in a precarious situation. It was winter time. The heat was going out in the van, and so I'm sitting there with 4 kids in the van. All the shelters are full, and I have no other options. And so at that point, I decided that I was just going to go into one of these abandoned houses that was open and do what I had to do to make my kids to survive and make sure that my kids, didn't freeze in the cold. It's been the most stable situation that I or my kids have been in, first of all, since they were born, and for me, since my mom died when I was 17. So it's really been huge. Stability for children, especially young children, it can change the whole course of their lives. They can all fall apart at any moment. So this community and us being able to unite is the greatest strength that we have.
I'm a mom of 5, and I got 2 grandkids, and I'm an organizer. I work on water rights and most of the time, and now the Poor People's Campaign. My family's living without health care. It's been very difficult. And in Detroit, we went through mass water shutoffs because water's simply not affordable in Detroit. I live in a neighborhood where they shut off an entire block at one time, or an entire 3 blocks at one time. Not a knock on the door or anything. They just came in early in the morning and shut us all off. It was 2 weeks before we all figured out how to get our water turned back on.
So what does this first day of action mean to you?
It's 3 years in the making.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I hadn't thought about what it meant to me. It means a lot. I feel like when you come together in this way, it's something so special that it couldn't be anything but goodness, and it means a lot to me, my family. I'm sorry. I want to see my neighborhood have water. I want to, you know what I mean? I want everybody to have access to the basic resources, and having us all come together it means a lot to me.